Hi, my name is Amy Sigrest. I'm the Vice President of Digital Services at MAPR Agency. We're a full service communications firm headquartered in Boulder with offices in Fort Collins and Denver as well. And we're proud sponsors of the PR marketing track at this year's Fort Collins Startup Week. Before we get started, excuse me, I want to thank you for being a part of this year's virtual event. And although I don't have the pleasure of meeting you in person today, I want to let you know I appreciate your interest in SEO and user experience, which I'll talk about today. And I want to let you know that my presentation deck, as well as all of the resources that I mentioned today, are going to be available for you at mapr.agency slash startup FoCo. And you can also get in touch with me at asigrest@mapr.agency. I'll put that on the last slide as well, so that if you have questions after this, you can get in touch. To give you a bit of my background, I have more than 15 years of experience in digital marketing and SEO. I co-founded MAPR's digital marketing practice in 2010 when we were starting to work with more startups who needed websites to go along with their pitch. And this month, I'm celebrating 11 years at MAPR. And coincidentally, is how long I've been explaining what SEO has to do with PR. Hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll understand too. But if not, email me and we'll chat. So, what is page experience? I might use page experience or user experience interchangeably during this presentation. Just be aware I'm referring to the same thing. And Google defines that as a set of signals that measure how users perceive the experience of interacting with a web page beyond its information value, which is a fancy way to say, what do users do when they get to your site and do they like it? um, some signals we've used in the past to measure this include things like average page per session, the total number of pages per session, the bounce rate, conversions. And this is basically how people engage with the content. Time on a page means they engaged with the content. Pages per session means they were curious about other products or services on the site or other content on the site. If it was a bounce, that means they came to the page, they didn't find what they were looking for, and they left before they went anywhere else on the site. And if they converted on the page, yay, they like our content, they like our service, we got their business. So these have been the best, more or less the best measures of page experience, user experience on a site, but they're a little bit ambiguous, and I'll go over that again later in this presentation. And then in May of 2020, Google announced a new set of metrics that we could use to measure page experience that may be more accurate or at least less ambiguous than the ones we've been using in the past. I'll explain a lot more about what those metrics are in a minute. But first, let me give you the world's briefest history of Google search. This will be 2 slides and 2.5 sentences or so. Bear with me. So Google's search engine launched in 1997, started by 3 PhD students at Stanford University as like a grad project. And then they launched the original search engine in 1997. This is a gorgeous screenshot of the very first Google search interface. Then in 2002, they made the first update to the algorithm, and we haven't stopped bitching about it since. Here is a screenshot from webmasterworld.com from a 2002 forum discussion about this update. And I just love this user says, how on earth can they justify dropping sites that were in the top 10 down to page 20 when nothing on the page changed? They moved the toilet midstream without a hint they're going to do it. I just think that's the most colorful description of SEO to this day. And my favorite part of this screenshot, though, is how the person signs off. I'm off to support any other search engine. Goodbye, Google, and good riddance. And I just wonder what that person's doing now. So here's a graph that gives a bit more of a visual representation of about how many search algorithms, search algorithm updates are made per year. Um, the thing to note here is Google almost never gives any advance notice of an algorithm update. Occasionally, they will confirm an update after it was made, but for the most part, the SEO community relies on each other to share data and interpret that and help troubleshoot if and when a search algorithm update happened and what it might have affected. Um, so you can see this first 5 years or so of Google was like smooth sailing before 2002 and that first update. And then about a decade later, we're looking at more than 600 updates. And by the way, this chart doesn't grow because it's measuring more Google products that were changed in the time. These numbers are only updates to the core search engine algorithm. So that's why it's a little bit nerve-wracking to see how many updates they're making now and telling us next to nothing about when or what they will change. Um, anyway, in 2019, Google launched a total of 3,620 confirmed algorithm updates. Um, so we got to get to work. This is our life now. This is the speed. Here we are. um, So, how does a search algorithm affect your business? I know we always want to connect things to the business's bottom line, your ROI, for example. If you are a company that sells consumer products or a blog, you kind of know why SEO is so important to you. Um, Sometimes we'll talk to folks who run B2B companies and think that SEO doesn't matter because they're not trying to sell anything on the site. They just need something up for reporters to determine whether the company is legit or not, for example. But I just wanted to run these B2B statistics by you in case you are in that group of folks who think that maybe search isn't that important. So, according to a pretty recent study done by Google, 90% of B2B customers use search specifically to research their business purchases. So your B2B customer is using Google to research what they're going to buy, hopefully from you, right? Another thing from the study, the same study, B2B researchers average about 12 searches prior to engaging on a specific brand site. So they do at least 12 searches or around 12 searches before they even click on a site or fill out your lead gen form, for example. Let's see. Google aims to satisfy the user or the user's intent. So they are not ranking pages based on keywords anymore. They're ranking pages based on user experience because to them that is what matters, and they know this about millions and millions, billions of actions taken by searchers in real life. So I trust their data. A lot of the algorithm updates focus on technical aspects like security. So, do you have that SSL certificate that gives you the little green lock in Chrome search? Or accessibility if your site loads on multiple different devices, is readable and indexable and things like that. And like I mentioned, these algorithm updates are based on real user behavior patterns. You might have a few hundred or a few thousand user interactions to work with at a given time period. Google has a few hundred thousands or a few million or a few billion. So they work with this data at scale, and that can give us a much more accurate representation of a user's intent based on their behavior. which brings us to this page experience update. What do we know about it? Well, in last May of 2020, Google announced these three new core web vitals, these three new metrics that I'll get into in a second. And then later that same month, they announced that an upcoming algorithm update, a major algorithm update, was planned. Um, they didn't really give us a date. They said probably in 2021. And then it wasn't until November of last year that they said, okay, it will be May of 2021. And we've been kind of scrambling since that announcement. Um, what's notable about this announcement is that it wasn't announced at all. Historically, like I mentioned, Google will occasionally confirm an algorithm update. They almost never announce it ahead of time, and certainly not almost a year in advance of it. And yeah, you can attribute part of that lead time to making accommodations for the pandemic circumstances. But certainly it seems like it's going to be major, and that's why we're here talking about it today. I want to help you get through this. So let's talk about these three metrics, and there are three core web vital metrics that we're going to talk about today. So let's go ahead and talk about what those are. Like I mentioned, these core web vitals are just a new way to measure page experience or users' experience on a site. We think it might be more informative than the ambiguous metrics we've used in the past, like bounce rate and time on site, pages per visit, things like that. These behaviors that we're measuring through the core web vitals metrics are, they focus more on page speed, load time, interactivity, and the stability of your content. We know that these are the three we have now, but that other web vital scores or kinds of metrics will be introduced over time. And I'm sure that Google will provide more detail on those as they roll out. So here they are. I hope you're not disappointed. These are pretty jargony descriptions of these metrics. I'm going to try to break it down and make it as real world applicable as possible. I was disappointed with kind of how jargony these are, because we've been trying to simplify how people think about SEO for a while now. So a metric that focuses on the load time, we're calling the LCP, stands for largest contentful paint. And that means how long does it take the largest resource on a page to load, whether it's a hero image or some JavaScript or something more interactive, a video, for example. These are pretty large resources or assets that take a lot of time to load. So the more you can improve that, the better. FID, first input delay, measures interactivity. So that is the time to interactive. You might have referred to it before, or how long it takes any functional element on a page to respond to a user's action. And the easiest example I can think of is like a web form. When you fill in a form and click submit, how long does it take before you get that confirmation message that your message was sent, your form was submitted? But you might be thinking, well, if I don't have a form on the page, then there's no input for the user, so there's not going to be a delay. But it's not just forms, it's any input. And an input can be things like something that happens when a user hovers over something on your page. Do you have like a tooltip? Then someone hovers over it and you get a little pop-up explanation of what they're looking at. Is it an on-click action or an on-scroll? Does something load when a user scrolls? These are all inputs from a user. And we're not talking a lot of time between, like a noticeable amount of time to us. The threshold that Google prefers this score to be in is 100 milliseconds or less. So these are barely perceptible delays that we need to improve. by changing the resources and the way they load on our page. And then finally, CLS, cumulative layout shift, which I'm a little bit excited about because it affects um, the stability of the content on the page. So, like, if you're on your phone and you load a news article and you want to click a link in the article, but just as you go to click it, an ad loads right under your thumb. I hate that. And that would be a layout shift. It shifted the entire content. So I didn't get to do what I wanted. Or interstitials or pop ups, ads, sidebars that go in and out. How does that affect the layout of the content? And does it affect the user's experience in a significant way? Um, and so this is probably the most gray area, I guess, because with largest contentful paint and first input delay, we have a time threshold, but the cumulative layout shift is a much more specific calculation. And so you just get a numerical score between 0 and I guess 1. But Google's recommendation is to keep this below 0.1. And there are some resources in this deck that point you to the blog post that explains how that's calculated if you're interested. It's a little light reading. Anyway, this talk isn't about how to fix any of these issues on your site. I just want to show you what these new metrics are and how you can measure them and troubleshoot them on your own website. So let's get into the tools that we recommend using to measure these. So this first one on the left here is Google Search Console. If you don't have this set up already, I highly recommend you do that as soon as you're done watching this presentation. So Search Console measures the way search engines interact with your site, the same way Google Analytics measures how users interact with your website. It's a free tool, and there are a ton of other details included in this platform. So again, highly recommend it. The core web vitals you can see are available there in the sidebar, and you can see exactly which pages certain issues are present on. You only get to use that though with your site or a site that you manage. You can't, for instance, check up on your competitors by looking at their site in Search Console. You'll have to just look at the site that you own. Now, here are some other tools that you can use to measure your own site or any site on the web. This middle screen is the DevTools. Chrome DevTools is a resource built right into the Chrome browser. And there's a tab labeled Lighthouse there where you can check performance, including the core web vitals on that page. And one thing I love about this data comes from a source called Lighthouse Reports. And I'll talk a little bit more about that because a lot of the data in each of these reporting tools comes from that source that Google owns and manages. Anyway, so when you run a Lighthouse report, you'll get a dashboard that looks a lot like this, and you can look at the full report. You can look at it for desktop and mobile results, and it will say exactly what issues exist, where on your site, like what line of code they exist on, and how to address it, how to fix it. As well, probably my favorite part about this tool is with the Lighthouse report, you get to see not only exactly what's wrong, but they'll estimate about how much time savings or page size reduction you can get by fixing these issues. And then there are a lot of Chrome extensions as well. This one I've installed. It's really simple. It's just called Web Vitals. And when you install it, it puts a green or red square at the top of your browser for every page you visit. And you can click on it and just see the scores there on that page. And then if you are trying to troubleshoot something and you see a problem there, you can then run a Lighthouse report and get all of the details that I mentioned. Oh, and if you're feeling super fancy, you can go to set up a custom metric in Google Analytics to put core web vitals data right in your dashboard. There's a link there to the JavaScript library and details about how to set this up. And again, all of these tools and these resources are linked on our site at MAPR agency / startup FoCo. So these are just the last 3 tools I'm going to mention. Web.dev is just kind of a different layout of the same Lighthouse report that you're going to get in the DevTools environment. You just enter a URL and you can run the audit, is what it's called, and see based on desktop or mobile what's wrong, where it exists, and how much time or size you can save by getting there. Page speed insights, same thing, just a different layout of the results. And then finally, GT metrics is not owned by Google. Google didn't make this tool, and it does use some Lighthouse data, but it's just a third party. And I encourage, getting a bigger picture by using different tools to measure things. Confirm what they say and fix what they recommend. So yeah. Oh, all of these tools that I'm talking about today, they're all free, or they at least have a free version. All of these screenshots came from the free version of these tools. So let's just say that. So how do we prepare? First of all, don't panic. We have time. We have the resources. We can do this. We're going to use these free tools that I mentioned to find where these issues exist on your website, if they do, and use that Lighthouse report that gives you all those details to prioritize which issues you want to fix first and how to fix them. And then fix as many of those as you can before May. Don't wait and see if the update affects you. That's not what this is about. The object of the game is not to beat Google at their own algorithm. Google is telling you that based on billions of user interactions it measures, this is the way the web is going. So we want to focus on the performance, the interactivity, the content stability of your site, because that's going to be what your users want. If key content can't be fixed on your site, if you find something on your site that has an issue and you just can't fix it enough to get within those thresholds that Google has established, you might want to consider redesigning it or redeveloping it. What's a different format that would be more user-friendly and lighter in terms of resources on your site to load? That'll make it better. Even if you think it's already just the best content ever, you can always improve it if you can make it better for the user. And you can also follow news on the page experience update. We all are in the SEO community. There are tons of resources. Here are just a few that I like. The Search Central blog, that is the horse's mouth. Search Engine Land, also very reputable SEO news site. And Ahrefs blog has a lot of good insight as well. But what I really want you to take away from this is the algorithm will change constantly. So there's no sense in chasing it. I know that a lot of folks might still be hunting keywords or trying to rank page 1, position 1 for keywords. Keywords aren't what they used to be. And frankly, neither are search results. Instead of typing in a search query and getting a list of 10 little blue links on the results page, now we have things like local packs and maps and images and the knowledge graph. The people also ask suggested related searches, those things, and search snippets that just pull part of the page out. So you don't even have to click on a result to get the answer from Google in some cases. So if you're still chasing an algorithm to rank page 1, position 1, what does that even mean anymore? Where is position 1 in a search results page that includes several different features? I think it's a waste of time to focus solely on keywords over anything else. Keyword is not the same as search intent. What does the user mean when they type those keywords? They still matter, but the intent of the search is paramount. There's still time to prepare. There's still time to work, and we have all of the tools that we need to do the work. So let's do the work. uh, Thank you. Again, you can find this presentation deck and all of the tools and resources I've mentioned today at mapr.agency/startupfoco. Or you can email me at asigrest@mapr.agency if you have any more questions. I want to thank you so much for your time today. I hope you feel now empowered to optimize your own website for user experience. But if you don't, I can help with that too. So thanks again and enjoy the rest of Startup Week.